Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Before we dive headfirst into today's shit show, I just want to say thank you to the handful of subscribers and people viewing my videos. I appreciate the support. That said, let's see if we can make it happen. So today we're going to finally dive into the long overdue, aforementioned Honda CR250. And as you can see, and as you can guess, that's the frame. And we're going to be sandblasting. We've already started. And as you can see, it's in rough shape. Multiple layers of paint that need to come off. We will then make a decision whether to do some frame repair, which I'll show you later. And then make another decision, because we're, trying to keep this on a budget, whether to paint it ourselves or have it powder coated. Let's dive into this. I'm going to time lapse it with some music. And if you watch my basement video, I apologize. I know it was way too long. Again, first time editing. I did 200%. This time we'll do 3 or 4. Let's just call the basement video ASMR meditative digging with music. Fair enough? Cool. We also got to do the subframe. And get that whipped back into better shape. Also, I look back and think, how much I've done in my life, and I think it's a lot. But then I get a quick reality check with something like this, because before this spot I did here, I have never sandblasted before. So there's no better way to learn, to me, than to do hands-on. So I found the cheapest sandblast unit on Marketplace. I think I paid $100. And you're going to have a good laugh, but I tried to use a 3-gallon compressor, and I'm sure you know how that went. Not well at all. So again, we went on Marketplace, found the cheapest compressor we could find. I think I paid $170. Still got the plastic on the gauges. And yeah, so we'll give this one a whirl. Haven't tried it yet. Now, as you can see here, we're approved from some stuff and not approved from other stuff. But again, we're on a $0 based budget. So we'll just say, oh, can't even afford a pen that works. Here we go. Now, it's made for sandblasting. So let's get into it and see if we can make this frame look a little bit better and go from there. Like I said...
I never said that. Never.
You're losing your mind.
Compressed air makes water, and so, yeah, I bought some $15 water separators. Never used before. We'll see how those work as well. So as you can tell by the video, this has taken a long time, and I'm sure most of you who have done this before have guessed that the compressor is constantly running, even if it's, even though it's 26 gallons, it said it's not for sandblasting. So luckily for me, my two brain cells are working in unison today, and I came up with an idea. So while doing this, I remembered, which is becoming more and more of a challenge in itself,
Hey, that guy's nuts.
that I had some paint stripper in stock. We moved inside because they are calling for rain this afternoon. So I thought, well, why don't we spray some paint stripper on the frame, let it sit overnight, and then hit it with the sandblaster the next day, and hopefully cut the work time in half. I don't know if any of you have ever tried this before. I figured if it works, is it a dumb thing? So that's exactly what we're going to do. So I have this spray, and I have this citrus strip, brush on. Obviously, I'm getting lazier and lazier the older and older I get. So we're going to try the spray first and save the other one for backup in case we need it. Now this says it's for latex, enamel, and latex paint, latex enamel. I'm sure this is neither of those. I'm sure it's not latex. I started to do some research on paints. I'm not a big expert on paints, but there is quite a controversy. Did you guys know about this? Man alive, acrylic, enamel, powder coat, and everyone has an opinion. Don't powder coat, it rubs through too easy. Enamel chips is not flexible enough. Acrylic this, blah, blah, that. So yeah, I'm going to appeal to you guys, the audience. What do you use on this thing once we're done with it? It seems like everyone has a very specific opinion about what to use. So, yeah, my head was spinning after, 60 seconds just reading everyone's opinion about painting a dirt bike frame. I don't know, how much of this do you use? All of it? Sure. All right, we're going to let that sit for a long time until tomorrow, and then see what happens. Good morning, everyone. It is the next day. We did let the frame and subframe sit overnight. Truth be told, I did end up using both products just as insurance to hopefully get this paint to move and make the sandblasting process a little bit easier and, more important, faster. So now that it's 85 degrees out and sunny, let's get into this thing and hopefully we fly right through it. All right, let me get you in here. So where I laid the thick orange goo on, really thick, it definitely, you can see it bubbling there. It's definitely moving the paint. But let me see if I can show you here. Here's a good shot. If you can see that on camera. The paint is incredibly thick in places. This frame has been painted multiple times. The subframe, where it's thinner, it's coming off pretty good, but it still seems to be a painfully slow process. Like I said earlier, I've never done this before. It does seem I'm not getting a steady stream of sand. I have to go over and kick the can, so to speak. But then, you know, my two brain cells, they sometimes work, and I noticed I have the old, and this seems to go a little bit faster. So what I might do is use the combination of the two, really. Get the large areas with the, I call it a whizzer wheel. Let me know what you guys call it. And then get the nooks and crannies, so to speak, with the sandblaster. I'm sure there's other chemical strippers, tools that work better, but I don't have the money to keep throwing at this. It is going to take some time, but time I got, and a little elbow grease, I got that still. So let's just power through it, get it done, and go from there. I don't know if you can tell by the multitude of clips, but things aren't going as smoothly as we hoped. We are making progress. And while I really do like using the whizzer wheel, I find it relaxing, the compressor just simply can't keep up. We get a good 5-6 minutes and then it runs down. It'll constantly run, but it gets really slow. That said, we are on to plan B, C. We're going electric grinder. I found these on Amazon, 4-inch. Seems like the 4.5 is more common than the 4. If you know why that is, let me know in the comments. But yeah, we're going to try this. I was hoping it was a little more flexible than it is, but yeah, let's see what this does. Try and make it happen. All right, well, we finally have our paint removed from our frame. Let's take a look. So, unfortunately, what we found on top of the other stuff we already knew about is, can you see that? That's a crack right along the weld. It's part of the motor mount, I believe. And it actually goes through the weld on that side. I don't know if you can see that, and back. So we have that to fix. And what we already knew is typically in the bottom of these frames, they get pretty beat up. Now it's quite obvious to the even most casual observer, this one was rode hard and put away wet. So I'm not a welder. The extent of my ability goes back to my mechanic days. Lots of exhaust, flex pipe, catalytic converters, mufflers, those welded in. Couple dump bodies, just some flat sheet steel, put in the, a rotted dump body and welded in. And then a lot of, welding nuts onto exhaust studs, trying to extract them. That's about it. So yeah, I'm quite nervous trying to do this myself. I'm going to be doing some practicing. I don't have 220 here, so I just have a flux core, 115 volts welder. So as far as the crack goes, if I remember right, we need to drill out the end so it doesn't continue to crack, and then V that out, and then attempt to weld it. The bottom, which is really rough, I looked, I've watched YouTube videos. There's only one that a guy actually cut the pieces out, bent them back into shape, and welded them in. I've seen people just add weld to all these dents and then grind it down, which I didn't like. There was really only one or 2 videos for this, which I was surprised. It's just such a common problem. But before anything, I don't have, it's not in the budget to spend money on another frame. You know, typically most of these have that damage on the bottom. So we got to try and repair this one, unfortunately. So if you have any ideas, if you have experience with this, I know I don't have a lot of subscribers right now. I thank the ones that are and are watching these videos. Let me know if you have any ideas. So there's the frame itself. It gets worse from there. Let's look at the subframe. So the subframe is even in worse condition. You can see here the brace towards the tank, towards the front, it's gone. Obviously it's been repaired before. That repair did not work out. Focus. And it's missing. That's first one. Second one, another really, looks like this all broke apart, and it's pretty poorly welded. Not that I could do any better, but it's pretty boogered up right there. Then you come to the fender support over here. That has also been welded, broken and welded. I know this whole subframe is bent. As you can see here, you know, typical bolt froze, broke, and they drilled it out and it's not centered. It's just a mess. Where I think we can, you know, save the frame, to me, in my opinion, this is not savable. I've already looked on the eBay, and they range from about 100 to 150 bucks, which is crazy because I found frames, full frames, for 180 plus shipping. So I'm going to continue my search to try and find one that's in decent shape, at least better than this. Make it an upgrade, because to me this is not usable. The good thing about this, since we're not using it, is I am going to practice welding on it. Like I said, I have limited welding experience. Quite honestly, I don't think I've welded anything since around 2014, so I can't reiterate that enough. I am not a welder, but you can't learn if you don't try, right? I'm the philosophy that hands-on is the way to go, and there's no better experience or learning than to just do it. So the results are in from someone who hasn't welded in 9 years and was never very good to begin with. Not very good. Focus. Not very consistent. Looks like I got penetration. Obviously I'm not used to the welder. Part of it's probably nerves. I don't have a lot of stuff to practice on, so you'll get a laugh out of this one. Who uses these anymore anyways? Old hedge trimmers. Saw these laying around and said, well, again, not very consistent. Did both sides. Yeah, someone needs more practice. Go find something else I can booger up. So we couldn't find anything else to weld on, so we're gonna just kind of go for it at this point. And as I look at some of these, you know, factory welds, I don't feel as bad. I don't know, that's hard to see, but that is a snot and a half on there, in my mind. Look at that, right? So, what's Honda got on me? Anyways, you see the crack there? I drilled a hole there, because I think we gotta stop the the crack from cracking more, right? How big a hole do you need? I have no idea. So I went with that size. I don't even know what it was. And then we came around to, where are we? Right here. That's where the crack stopped there. We drilled a hole there. And so we're now gonna take this handy dandy Dremel tool with this grinding disc. I never used this a lot ever, but you know, it's kind of like paint, right? It's all in the prep. So I think what I need to do is just kind of V that crack out a little bit, and it's because it's, you know, in such a tough little area, this thing I believe is going to work out pretty good. So let me get that done, and we'll get you back in here. So pretty hard to tell here. I do have that V'd out, not a lot. I don't know how far you're supposed to go. I don't know if you're supposed to cut all the way through. I obviously can't get down in there. We're just going to fill that up with weld. And then on the other side here towards the bottom, easy. Yeah, we got it grooved out there, so that's ready to go. And I also, executive decision, we're going to cut these pieces out, beat them back into shape, and weld them back in. And surprisingly enough, I don't know if it's the right way, but that's the way we're going to do it. Let the comments fly. It is what it is. I tried to research it. I don't see anyone else doing it except for one guy. But surprisingly, this thing was the star of the show. This little tiny grinding disc, albeit fragile, and I went through a bunch, actually cut this piece of tubing frame out, and it did a really good job, and makes a nice, neat, small cut. So yeah, impressed with that. So yeah, I'll bring you guys, I don't know, do you guys want to see the work? Do you just want to see the before and after? Like I said in the beginning, it's your show. I want you to tell me how you want to see it. That was the easier side, or the less damaged side rather. I'll bring you in for this one, and we'll cut this one out and go from there. Amazing how thin this stock is. I never realized how thin it was. I'm sure some of it's rust, but yeah, pretty crazy. And also we'll have to maybe sandblast that rust out of there and throw some, you know, stop rust at it. Rust converter, rather. So yeah, let's get after the other side and we'll go from there. Having never worked a piece of metal in my life, and rather than looking like a bigger fool than I already do on here, I decided to do one of the sides of the frame off camera. This is the result. Now, is it perfect? Not even close. Does it look better than this? I think so. These little imperfections here, I was amazed how thin this frame is. And so that little imperfection there, and that one there, and that one down there, those are just tiny dents I tried to fill in with weld, but I didn't want to go crazy with the grinder and the whizzer wheel for fear of, you know, going through. Like I said, this metal was incredibly thin, a lot thinner than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, that's it. I'm pretty happy with it, having never done this before. I did notice that the electric grinder, where's that? This is what I used over here. Makita, I don't even know if it's the right disc. I noticed, and then I went in with the, you know, the whizzer wheel. I did notice that the electric grinder makes a lot of dimples, and they're hard to get rid of. So I don't know if it was just me, if you do longer strokes, insert comments there. or what. But again, I have never done this before in my life, and for my first time, I'm fairly pleased. I had it tacked in. I'll put a picture up of it tacked in. I should have videoed it being tacked in. I was really happy with that. I was really happy the way I was able to manipulate the metal. It was actually a lot easier than I thought, and it came out pretty good. My welds, however, were atrocious, and I was too embarrassed to show those. What is the old saying? Grinder and paint makes me the welder I ain't. So, very disappointed in my welds. So yeah, now that we have this side done, I'll bring you in, and we'll start going into this side and see how bad I can screw this up. Got pretty lucky with that last disc on that last cut. Let's see if we can get it out of there. Boom. See that? There she blows. This one's rougher than the other side. All right, I'll show you how I worked it back into shape. It doesn't get any cruder than this, but like I've stated several times in the past, we have no money, so we got to improvise. So go ahead and laugh away. So what I did, I didn't know how I was going to work this. Again, having never worked a piece of metal in my life, then suddenly my two brain cells were working in unison. So I made up this jig. It's just a half rotted piece of pipe that I halved, and I measured the tube, and then I wanted something, a size bigger to work the metal in. And when I put that radius over the existing frame, the radius was very, very close. So I literally just took an old rotten piece of wood, clamped it down to the table here, took the halved rotten pipe, a couple drilled holes, screwed it to that, and all we do is we're going to just set our metal in here, and then this ball peen hammer that I had in stock seems to fit very good in here and make that radius very, very close. And then I found another half rotted piece of pipe, and if I got to work the ends, just finesse the ends a little bit, I just, take that, put it over the pipe, and work it that way. So yeah, simple as that. Oh, I also heated the metal. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but it seemed to help. This is a half rotted propane torch I found, in the wall a couple years back. So it just goes to show you, you don't need much to make things work. So yeah, See if I can get you in here while I do this and see if we can take the dents out of this piece of metal. We're just heating the metal up to make it a little more easy to work with. Again, not sure if this is the correct procedure, but this is what I do. So this is what I am doing. Whether it's right or not, don't know. And then just find the highest dent here and start to work the metal. See, it's already changing shape. Come on, y'all. So as you can see, that is a big difference to what it was before. Starting to get round again. We got most of the dents out. We'll try and work these little small ones out and go from there. Okay, this is where we're at. Some more massaging. We're starting to get it back into shape. You can see, we're good here. We're good there, but then this end obviously has to come way over. So I think what I'm gonna do is tack it back here and then try and manipulate it over here and then tack it in. I'm pretty happy with, get most of these dents out. Again, it's never gonna be perfect, but you saw the before. So let's start tacking this in and go from there. So sorry, my phone cut out. It said my storage is full. Love it when that happens. So here's where we're at. We got this thing tacked in. Not looking too bad. Out of my 6 subscribers, I know 3 of you thinking, hey, did I actually hit the rewind button on my remote? And the other 3 of you saying, I told you that metal was too thin. Well, you're both a little right. So we are going in reverse because you saw it before where we were, making progress and welding in the existing metal. And now we're redoing it, and I'll show you why. And the other 3 of you, you're right, partially right. That existing metal had some thin spots. Let's check it out. So both back towards the rear of the bike, you can see here it was just really thin, and it started burning through, and I eventually got upset, took a hammer to it, cut it out, and said we're going to start over. That said, I'm not a metal fab guy. Those of you who do it every day, go easy on a guy. I can think in history maybe 3 times. I think once I built an exhaust bracket for my 80 lowrider, and it was just on a metal bandsaw, and it was a very simple bracket, drill a couple holes, off we go. I think the other was when I was a mechanic. The guy I worked for, he would take on any and all work. So there was this one job, a guy actually sold women's clothes out of his Suburban. So he bought a brand new Suburban, and he needed the clothes racks installed. To do this, I had to go in a brand new Suburban, take out the brand new headliner, and weld in brackets that would support clothes hangers. So it's kind of like if you remember old school Bradley's or even Walmart now, they have clothes racks with telescoping tubes. They're chromoly, so that's basically what it was. I used to have pictures, wish I still did, so I could show you, but I was sweating bullets on that one. I was still very green, and yeah, to slice and dice a brand new Suburban and put clothes racks. When you open the 2 side doors, you would just, slide out these chromoly tubes, and same with the back doors. You would just slide out these tubes, and you would hang women's clothes off and go around the country and sell it. Each to their own. Anyways, I'm starting to ramble. My next problem was not being a metal guy. I don't know what metal this is or what's it made out of. And of course, I have a love-hate relationship with the internet. And when you go on and try to find out, what steel is used to make dirt bikes, of course, there's several different answers, and I didn't know which was right. So I phoned a friend, and who is a welder, and he said to use 4130 chromoly. So that's what we did. I ordered some, and I'll show you what we ended up with. His last text was, that's going to really be hard to imitate with new stock. I said, okay, thanks. He also said this should be TIG welded or MIG'd, not flux core, because it's probably going to crack. But unfortunately, I got to use what I got. I'm not going to invest any more money into this thing, and we're just going to go with the flux core and try and burn it in and see what happens. So I spared you the awful sight of me trying to manipulate this metal. I have the most rudimentary tools. I made this up just to, manipulate and work with the steel. Here's the rest of the chromoly bar. Excuse me. That measured 1 inch. The frame actually measured 1.11, I believe. So yeah, I use this to open up. I cut this, the new steel a little bit bigger and just opened it up kind of like an anvil on this thing. And then with, my rotted torch and my little Chinese baby Toys R Us vise and a grinder and a whizzer wheel, we were able to cut 2 pieces of metal and fill those in. So let me get those in and show you, and we'll go from there. So this is what I came up with. And yeah, my friend was right. This was not easy to do with just crude tools. Obviously we have curves and bends, and we started with a piece of straight steel. Are they perfect? No. It's hopefully going to be better than the bashed in frame that we had before that you saw earlier in the video. I hope so. Yeah, I'm happy with it for a job I never do. I've never done this before. That gap there, you can see it's sticking out. Hopefully we'll tack the other side here, which is is good, and then just tap this over and bring that gap closer. So yeah, let me get this tacked in, and then I'll show you again, and then I'll attempt to burn it in. Alright, so we got these tacked in. This is what it's looking like. A little discrepancy and gap down here. Hopefully we can fill that in. I don't love that, but I like the rest of it. It's pretty tight. That looks a lot bigger on camera than it is. On the other side, we're able to tap that. Like I said, we're able to tap one side and tap that bottom over and get that tight. So pretty good there. And pretty good there. Obviously we had some thin metal frame side, original frame side there. So yeah, a couple questions I had is obviously the byproduct of this flux core are all these little beads. What do you guys do to protect the rest of your work? I just threw a piece of plywood up. I'm like, what's the least flammable? Threw that up here, but what do you do to prevent all these, BBs sticking to all your work? And then, what do you guys use to get rid of them? You just use the whizzer wheel? Let me know. So yeah, it's getting late. It's been goat stinking hot for the past 2 weeks, so I think I'm gonna call it a day. And we'll come back tomorrow and attempt to burn this in. Oh, here's another question. How do you weld patterns? I'm gonna go home and watch some videos. I have been watching videos. How to use the flux core welder, and like I said, when I was a mechanic, I did some gas MIG welding, but nothing crazy. Metal shop in 9th grade, did some stick welding. But how do you know, weld patterns? So on this, do you do, small circles, stack it like dimes? Do you do a straight weld? Obviously I don't know what you call them, the bow tie or the weave type. I'm assuming that's a much larger material, thicker material. But yeah, if you guys know, out of my 6 subscribers so far, which I appreciate every one of you, let me know. That said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
You're born on the sun, it's damn hot.
Goat stinking hot. All right, it's the next day, and disclaimer, for those of you who weld every day, go easy on the guy. I don't do this every day. I got a flux core welder, which makes a big difference. But this is the result of burning these in. Now I know it's awful ugly. And the biggest problem I had was attaching nice new thick steel to very thin old steel. I was getting a lot of holes in the existing frame, and I would have to go back, let it cool, and try and fix those. So I'm not in love with it, but I'm not an expert. I'm sure there's some procedure for when you're mixing two metals here. I don't even, according to my friend, this shouldn't even have been flux core MIG welded. It should have been TIG'd. But beggars can't be choosers at this point. So hopefully all that took. I think I got pretty good penetration throughout. I know it's pretty ugly. Again, if you guys know how to get all these BBs off easily, let me know. I'm not gonna go too crazy with the grinder. What's the saying? Grinder and paint make me the welder I ain't. Only because that frame side is really thin. So let me get that ground up. We'll come back, show you the finished product, and go from there. Okay, so we're done grinding, and this is the finished result. Let's talk about metal finishing. So I just went from a grinder to a blue wizard wheel pad. Obviously the grinder makes a lot of imperfections in the metal, a lot of rimpling. Even when using the, I don't know if I can focus, you can still see it in there. What's the best for metal finishing? Again, so you can see the imperfections. Like I said, I did not want to go crazy with the grinder frame side, existing frame side, because the metal is super thin. So that's why it's a bit rough. But we will be putting on a skid plate so we don't, whoever gets the bike next does not have the same thing happen. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Let me know how you finish metal. Let me know how you would do all this. Should I have sleeved it? I don't know. I don't do this. I don't think this is a structural part of the frame. But again, the whole thing's integral to the rest of it, right? If that was cut out, it's obviously not gonna do the thing. I did do flux core welding. Is it gonna crack? Only time will tell. I feel like I got pretty good penetration. Like I said, it does have some rough spots, but again, I don't want to go crazy with the grinder and end up burning a hole through the existing frame. That said, what's next for this? Do we powder coat it or do we paint it? As we discussed earlier, the love-hate relationship with the internet. Everyone has an opinion, and there's a bunch of them. It's this old beat-up frame that I just did some, patches in. Does this warrant powder coating? What does powder coating cost? I've never had anything powder coated in my life. Don't know the expense versus paint. Do I have it painted? Do I paint it myself? Do I buy a powder coat kit? I don't have any ovens here, so, I'm not going to be able to do the best job, obviously. But does this frame warrant it? Let me know. Okay, updates. Let's go over updates. Yeah, just give me a second. I'll be back. So in our projects video, we had discussed this barn. And as you can see, I demoed half of it. And I think I previously stated I wanted to repurpose some of the lumber for I call it the underground house, the earth house, whatever was in the video, to try and save on this building. We have since got a tarp on the roof, and we ended up repurposing some lumber out of the barn to make our support wall. These were all the 2x6 roof rafters. I ripped them out to 2x4, and we threw in a support wall. So, because the front wall's in such rough shape, you can see I ran a string and they were all over the place. I basically the floor was pretty level, so I made the support wall studs all the same length, and you can see, how far down we were on some of them. So yeah, that part's good. I said I got a tarp on the roof. I'm not going to show you that framing because I just made it out of scrap, and it's pretty embarrassing, but now have 99.9% of the water roof-wise is staying out. And I didn't film any of it. I don't know. Do you guys want to see me doing demo and putting up a support wall? I didn't think so, but if it's something you want to see, it's very basic. Rip the studs. We doubled up. I would have tripled up, but we only had so much lumber we could do. So just top and bottom plate. I did ram set them into the concrete. And yeah, so there's an update on that. Update on if you watch the snowmobile videos, the 88 has since sold. And we still have the 74. When we talked about spark glass, it did lose it again. It did end up being the CDI box through process of elimination. Finding one was not easy or cheap. It was pretty cool, however. I did find new old stock, brand new in the bag, a brand new CDI. This is the old one. I don't know if this year make model is special, but all of them had these spade type bits. I had the bullet type connectors, not bits, connectors, sorry. So I had to do some rewiring, but other than that, it was an exact match. And that was the problem. Now the thing fires right up, and problem solved. It is for sale. Other updates, this lawnmower. I really wish I did a video on it. I didn't because it's just a stupid lawnmower, right? I don't think many people want to see lawnmower videos, but if you do, let me know. This was sitting in girlfriend's mother's canvas structure. It is a 1993 Craftsman, 18 horsepower, 42-inch deck. It had been sitting since 1998. As you can imagine, it was in horrible shape. Everything was seized on it, including the deck. What was neat about it, but not so neat, was there was so much mouse house in there, and I'm sure all you know how mouse urine is to metal, highly corrosive, that it actually disintegrated the air fins on one side of the cylinder. And I have the pieces, and I wish I videoed it because it was pretty neat. Went through the whole thing. Ended up doing a coil. The coil plug was rotted off. A battery, one tire, a couple new mulching blades, a pin kit for the chute. Very minimal, and got it running, driving, and actually mowed the entire lawn with it today, and it actually runs like a top. Crazy thing is I never took the carburetor apart. It wants a little choke, but if you find the sweet spot, it doesn't miss a beat, and it's pretty amazing. This thing should have been thrown away, and it's now mowing the lawn again. Here's a question for you. When I ordered a tire, as you can see, let me get down here. This is a 20 by 10 by 8 original Sears tire. If you come to this is the new tire I bought, kind of the same tread pattern as the other one. And if you look here, it is a 20 by 10 by 8. But if we stand back here, it's quite obvious to the even most casual observer that one tire is wider than the other. The old original Sears measures 9 inches across, the new one measures 8. If anyone knows why that is, let me know in the comments. I thought that was pretty interesting. So yeah, that's all the updates for now. Again, let me know what you want to see on this frame next. Do we powder coat it? Do we paint it? I'm about to do a pump on this pressure washer. It was cracked and no good. They don't make this original pump anymore. They make an upgraded pump. Here it is. Not going to video it. Don't think it's that exciting. It's just a remove and replace type deal. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. And just a little teaser, we'll be starting to rip into the motor on this 1992 CR250 very soon. Thanks for watching.